Hey everyone, RogueGold here, and today I want to have a quick chat about the Brooklyn DLC because I was shown something today by somebody who gave me full encouragement and endorsement to make this video and share this around that could be linked to the upcoming DLC that we have coming in Year 5 Season 4 that we know is taking place in Brooklyn. And so I want to show you that, and then beyond that, just have a quick chat about the DLC itself and what we might see in some of the months leading up to it. Alright, so as you can see, we are currently in the Haven Settlement, which is, of course, in the southern Manhattan map here that was part of Warlords of New York. And right now, if I'm looking at the New York map here, nothing seems out of the ordinary, right? Everything looks about normal, how it usually does. I turn on the targeted loot view. Everything looks normal. Of course, this is Brooklyn over here. This is where we are anticipating the new DLC to be coming in Season 4. But nothing looks out of the ordinary, right? Well, let's hop over to DC really quickly and take that same look at what we just saw. Alright, now as you can see, we are back in DC at the White House, base of operations. Let's go back to that same view on the map. We select New York here. And then, alright, taking a look at this, everything looks normal. Again, nothing too out of the ordinary. But then when we turn on the targeted loot feature, again, this all looks good. But when you zoom in a little bit, look what has popped up in that corner. There is a node for targeted loot that is currently showing as ARs. Now, I have tested this, and it is correlated to whatever you have your countdown or summit target loot select set to. So let's switch it, for example, to Alps. And then if we go back to that same view of New York City, switch the view to targeted loot and zoom in, it'll have switched to Alps. Now, I want to be very clear and upfront. There is no guarantee that whatever is showing here and whatever this is has any direct correlation or relation to the Brooklyn DLC. It could be entirely coincidental, it could be a bug, it could be a million different things. But I do think it is noteworthy, and I agreed with the person who told me about this and sent me this, that we're anticipating new content to be added to this, same area of the world, the same portion of the map, and we now have this, what seems to be work in progress node for either a main mission or something that is popping up over in that area of the map. Obviously, it is across the bay there. It's not in Brooklyn itself, but who knows? That could be the introductory mission to the DLC where you start there, maybe you cross over one of the bridges, then you end up in Brooklyn. Who knows? Like I said, a million possibilities. But beyond that, whether or not it is actually connected, the existence of this thing brings to mind something that I wanted to share with you all, which is that I think we are getting to the time and territory where it is time for us to start paying attention to, things in general over here and see if we notice anything changing over the coming months as we lead towards the launch of this DLC, which once again is coming in Year 5 Season 4, which is approximately going to drop around March of 2024. So let's head back over to New York very quickly, and I want to show you all something. Alright, so we're over here now at the Brooklyn Bridge, as I said, on the Manhattan side of the map. This was the same landmark that was featured in the Year 5 roadmap. That's what originally gave people the idea that this new DLC could be in Brooklyn, because the view that they showed in that image was of the bridge, presumably from that side. It looks like it was actually from the Brooklyn side of the landmark, and so that's pretty interesting. And of course, you can see the whole thing is collapsed in the middle here. I believe the lore explanation they gave for that is that that was a part of the storm and floods and all that stuff, the hurricane that happened to this area in between the events of the Division 1 and 2. But what I want to show you guys, and some of you might not know this, is that you can actually walk way out here and explore the base of this part of the bridge. And this is not new, all right? This is something that was added back when Woney dropped, or at least, I'm assuming that's when it was. That's when I explored it before. But you can walk right out here, and you'll see that there's, it rises back up a bit, and you can actually run, like I said, all the way out to this kind of middle part of the water. It's a really cool view in and of itself. I mean, how gorgeous is that? And I went out here originally way before they even announced the DLC, so this was obviously not intended to be anything, but it is this cool little Easter egg island out here. And another cool part, it has a nice little nod to Massive's other games that they've done before. There's some board games stacked up here, and down here is one for World in Conflict, which was one of their original or maybe even their first game, I don't fully know. So that's pretty cool in and of itself. But this whole new thing with the targeted loot node on the map has reminded me that it is a good time for us to start keeping an eye on this side of the game, right? Because the way that game development works, they will often put little bits of progress and things for future content in live builds in anticipation for that coming up. Why that happens, what's the reason for doing it, I couldn't tell you. I don't work in game development, but over the years of different games I've played, that has been the case. That's how data mining usually happens, is that they're checking these files that are put into the live build once new updates come out. And so the primary thing that I think will be interesting for us to keep an eye on, like I said, in the months moving forward, is what we can see from Brooklyn over here. So if you take any sniper rifle that has a good zoom, The Nemesis might even go further than this, but you can see some of the buildings that are over here, right? Now, to my knowledge, although, I have not been checking this stuff at all since they announced the DLC, but this kind of skyline that we see here, there's a good chance that in the coming updates, when Season 2 drops, Season 3 down the road, that some of this could begin to change. For what reason, again, I don't know why they do it, but if they're starting to update this map and actually make this part of the new DLC zone, again, we don't know entirely where it's going to be, but this is kind of the part of Brooklyn right here. I think the original Division 1 prologue area was right about here. So this is exactly where I think the DLC will be taking place when it does drop. So like I said, whether it is checking for those weird little interactions that could pop up, like the targeted loot thing that we just showed you, or, physically looking at what's happening across the river here, you never know what could change over the coming months. Like I said, use this video or your own investigations as a reference to what this looks like now, and check back every few weeks, few months, and see if any buildings look different, if anything gets higher levels of detail. A lot of this stuff is made to look like background things. I mean, obviously, some things are higher resolution, like those, I can see those water towers up there are way more in detail than the building itself. But if we start to see any of these buildings becoming higher resolution, if we see any of them physically changing to be different and they have higher resolution, that's an indication that those could be new assets that are being placed in for the DLC, or that some part of this map is going to change overall. You never know. Overall, my friends, that is all I wanted to show you. Just a quick heads up of that interesting little targeted loot thing that popped up in the New York map here, as well as just a reminder that the DLC is coming up, and it's not a bad idea to keep an eye on things to see what could be changing as we approach the release date. So I'll be super curious to hear your thoughts on this. What do you think, again, of that weird little targeted loot thing? Again, you can't see it on the New York map. You have to go to DC, switch your view, and then it pops up over there. Do you think that could at all be linked to the Brooklyn DLC? Do you think it's just a weird coincidence, something else entirely? And do you think that we might see some changes to the physical map here or anywhere else in the game prior to this DLC's release? Whatever you're thinking, leave it down below. I want to hear it. If you enjoyed the video and like breakdowns and discussions like these, then be sure to consider clicking that subscribe button. I plan on covering the Brooklyn DLC and all upcoming content for the Division 2 very intensively, and I'd appreciate you being around. But that is all I have for today, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching. Stay safe. I'll see you in the next one. RogueGold. Ow.